It's the confluence where the news comes together on 90.5 WESA. I'm Kevin Gavin. It's Friday, and you know what that means. Fish fries. This Lenten tradition has been around for years, for decades, inspiring showdowns of which church, parish, or fire hall serves the best fish, and maps to help you try a new sandwich every week of Lent. We're going to get into the origins and enthusiasm for fish fry season today with our guest. Rosalind Colgan is a freelance journalist, former Pittsburgher, he says with sadness, and the Things to Do editor at Time Out New York. Welcome back to the show, Rosalind.
Glad to be here.
And Dave Shore is the creator of the Codfather Facebook group. Welcome, Dave.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Full disclosure before we begin our conversation, I am the fish fryer. That's F-R-Y-E-R, not F-R-I-A-R, at my parish. All right, to each of you, how did your, let's call it this, your more than casual interest in fish fries come about? Rosalind, I'll start with you.
Well, it's been a long time coming. In high school, I used to volunteer at my church's fish fry. I was the one who had to wipe the greasy tables between customers. So it started at a very young age. That was at Community United Methodist Church in Penn Township in Westmoreland County. And then as I moved into the city, as I got older, that love for fish fries continued. And I really love going to different fish fries and checking out different communities and along the way.
How did your interest grow, Dave, in fish fries?
I grew up right down here in the Mon Valley where it was very church heavy at the time, and many of the churches had fish fries. And so as like high schoolers, we would go to them and check them out. And I soon realized that different churches, even though there's fish fries, there's differences in each one. Some of them are very minor. Some of them are pretty substantial differences. Like I got interested in finding those differences and seeing what was fun and interesting about them.
All right, you got me curious. Give me a difference.
A difference?
Yeah, you said some were minor, some weren't.
Well, there's always the simple ones. There's beer battered and breaded versus bread, and that's often a fight or a very common question. There's the types of fish. My favorite and most common is normally cod, but there's also halibut and haddock works very nice. Mm-hmm. Some people have to like in pollock because of one particular church that just closed down.
Right.
But the church didn't close down there. They stopped their fish fry. And then I always like looking for the things that are very traditional from that church's back culture. Like, for instance, there's a church in McKeesport, St. Sob, which has been my personal favorite.
Okay.
And anyway, they serve bacalhau, which is pretty much a chowder made out of bacalhau fish, dried salted cod.
Sounds good. All right, Rosalind.
Well, first of all, I'm really trying to get to St. Sava's this year. They have fish fries tonight, and then they have just one more, which is the following Friday, the 17th. So I'm going to try to get there this year. But I wanted to note a difference that I always look for, which is a dessert table. Some fish fries, it is about the fish, obviously, and the pierogies and halishki, but it's also about the desserts for me. And some fish fries really, go hard with an amazing dessert table. Others, that's not such a big thing for them. So I'm personally keeping an eye out for that. At my church growing up, there was one church member who made amazing pies, and you had to get there early if you wanted to get a piece of her pie. So I think that tradition has become a part of me.
Rosalind, you've written about the origin of fish fries. All right, what's the backstory? And no fishtails here.
Yes. Well, it has an interesting story. The fish fry, and this comes from the Heinz History Center, so they're the experts. The concept dates back to the late 1800s, early 1900s, where churches were creating what they would call a Tennessee fish fry. It wasn't quite what we imagine today. Now, by the early 60s, Woolies was advertising to help organizations set up a fish fry for just 25 cents a person, which is hard to imagine today. But the other thing that happened in the 60s was really the big game changer. In 1966, church leaders in the Catholic Church announced that Catholics only had to abstain from meat on Fridays during Lent rather than every single Friday. So what that did was sort of create this concentrated time where this moment of eating fish happened just during Lent. So by the 90s, we have food TV taking off. And then in the 2010s, we have digital media, we have brackets, we have maps. And that has really created the fish fry frenzy that we now know and love today.
Well, I've got to add here a note that Bishop David Zuvik, the Catholic bishop for the Diocese of Pittsburgh, has negated the abstaining of meat for St. Patrick's Day next Friday. I don't know what that's going to do to my fish fry, but I don't know.
Good to know. I guess people need what, corned beef, I suppose.
Maybe they'll stuff the pierogies with corned beef. I don't know. David,
Yeah,
you
who
started a
knows?
Facebook group, The Codfather.
Hmm?
Why'd you start a Facebook group?
Well, it kind of grew. It kind of grew organically. I've talked to friends and family about fish fries forever, and then when cell phones came out, I realized we were all calling each other. While I got on the way home from work, and then social media came up, and then I think Brian Butko and I were the ones that decided to say, "Why don't we start this into a Facebook group?" And it started out slow, and again gained ground over a handful of years. I think it's been out there for 8 years right now.
So, do you have non-Pittsburgh area followers, maybe people who maybe lived in the area and did go to fish fries? Now they're out of the area and there are no fish fries, and they're just sort of reminiscing, missing the good old days.
You do see comments on there from time to time where somebody goes, "Oh, I really missed that," or "I can't wait to get back into town," and whatever it is. I haven't had that since 1987.
All right. Now, Rosalind, you're coming to us from New York City. Prior to that, you were, of course, a longtime journalist here in the Pittsburgh area. Have you found fish fries anywhere in New York?
I am heartbroken to say that I have not. And I've asked around and people have no idea what I'm talking about. So,
Oh, they don't even know about them?
no, they don't. They think I'm just talking about like fried fish, like fish and chips, which, still is great, but not the fish fry. And I've looked. So if I'm missing one, if someone hears this and they know of one in New York, I want to find it. Now, I do know fish fries are popular outside of Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Buffalo. So I suppose I could drive up to Buffalo, but that'd be far. Cleveland and Cincinnati do have fish fry culture, but each city kind of has their own spin on it, and I think Pittsburgh is probably one of the most diehard fish fry places. I myself will be coming back to Pittsburgh so that I can go to to visit family, but we'll be going to fish fries. Probably we're going to do a lunch fish fry and dinner fish fry because I've got limited time at home and we've got to make the most of it.
You got to get two in on one day.
Yes.
And New York claims to have everything. Come on now, Rosalind.
That's what they say.
They probably don't even have cookie tables.
No cookie tables to be found.
What is an absolute must for a successful fish fry beside the fried fish? Is it something in the environment? Dave, I'll start with you.
I like the church halls.
Okay.
And I
You like
them.
the atmosphere or what?
Yeah, I like them because they're plain Jane, almost jarring. Because of a whole lot of fluorescent lights and uncomfortable chairs and folding tables. And my favorite ones, I always feel bad. Like, I would have to find a better way to say this. My favorite church halls are always the old ones, the ones that look old. And it's not because they're decrepit. I'm not trying to be bad, but that means that church hall has been loved by a lot of people for many decades and is celebrated. It's been through a lot of celebrations and a lot of depressing items to help people through.
Rosalind.
Well, I love a good church hall too. I mean, you've got the linoleum, the fluorescent lights. There's a whole energy there. But the one thing I would like to highlight is I always appreciate a fish fry that has an organized line process, because there's going to be a line. I get it. But it's nice when you know that it's going to be thorough. It's going to be efficient. Sacred Heart in Shadyside, great church basement, by the way, has a really at least last time I was there, it was a pretty complicated but efficient line process where different things were in different lines. And then Swissvale Fire Department, I'm always impressed by how quickly they get through the line. And that one's fun because you get to eat among the fire trucks. They set up the tables right there in the garage.
We have just a couple minutes left. The pandemic and the shutdown caused many fish fries to either stop or limit to takeout only. And last year, a few dozen actually shut down due to the rising costs of food or even supply chain issues. Are you concerned that this more than century-old tradition might be starting to wane at all? Dave, I'll start with you.
I think it's going to flag at least some based on less church members and less volunteerism. But I think it's going to be there. It's just going to be a little less than it was. I don't think it's going to crash tomorrow by any means, but I think it's going to wane over the next decade.
Mm-hmm. Are you concerned at all, Rosalind?
A little, yeah. I mean, just seeing, churches closed throughout the region, it is alarming. I do hope that if people go out to fish fries, they are telling their friends about it. Maybe they're getting on Facebook and getting on the Codfathers group and talking about it. Maybe they're taking pictures and posting them on social media just to really help people discover these fish fries and get out and support a community organization. Fish fries make up such a huge part of the budget for churches and fire departments that are things we really need in our community. So if you go out to fish fry, make sure you tell a friend about it.
All right. Now, I've got to preface this by saying Rosalind, you're a journalist, so watch it. And
Oh, boy.
Dave, you run a Facebook group. People depend on you. Have either of you, shall I say, told any fish stories about just how good a particular fish fry is?
No.
No.
You tell straight
No.
down the line.
If I don't like a fish fry, and there's many that I don't like or that I haven't enjoyed, I don't say so much about them.
Rosalind?
Yeah, same here. I mean, I will say when I was running the bracket for the incline, that was reader's choice. So I really didn't have my opinion in there. Readers were the ones making a decision, which made it a little easier. But yeah, if there's something I don't like Dave, I just don't recommend it. But I've luckily had very good luck so far.
Do you think we have everybody sort of tasting fish right now
I am.
for breakfast?
I'm hungry already.
I know
So
who
yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I know who I'm calling on the way home to place an order.
Okay. Dave Shore is the creator of the Codfather Facebook group. Dave, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
And Rosalind Culkin is a freelance journalist, formerly of Pittsburgh, and now the Things to Do editor at Time Out New York. Rosalind, thank you so much. And if you don't make it back here for fish fry, maybe I'll overnight you some of my fish. Well, maybe that wouldn't be such a good idea. Thanks so much.
Thank you.